Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in Jew. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome to Wednesday's edition of the dceu Daily, where we're talking about just release the Snyder Cut. Now, Business Insider have done a beautiful article. Yes, Business Insider, wow. How the Justice League Snyder Cut movement has gained momentum this year from Joker to Jason Momoa. Let's have a read. The Release the Snyder Cut movement, an effort to get director Zack Snyder. What is it? Come on, where's the bloody article? Anyway, here we are. We'll start again. Right. Warner Brothers and DC's Justice League was supposed to be the studio's equivalent to Disney and Marvel Studios' 1.5 billion grossing Avengers. Well, actually, the potentially a Justice League can make 2 or 3 times more than that. But the superhero team-up movie landed in 2017 with little fanfare compared to the giant expectations set on it. It cost a hefty $300 million to produce before marketing costs and made just $657 million worldwide. A mere $229 million of that came from the US for comparison. Avengers Infinity War made more than that last year in its opening weekend. We know, stop it. But despite its disappointing box office and abysmal Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 40%, well, Joker movie has got 44%. And all I'll say about that is this is what happens when you allow extremists to review films, right? Anyway, it's still a hot topic of conversation 2 years later, and it still has its loyal fans, just not of the version seen in theatres. The theatrical cut was a drastic change in tone and in quality of what we had become accustomed to when viewing a film directed by Zack Snyder. Will Rowlands, a Snyder superfan and actor from the UK, told Business Insider, Justice League was plagued by production woes. Snyder was who also helmed the DC Extended Universe's Man of Steel in 2013 and Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice in 2016. Stepped away from the project after a family tragedy. I think we can say that's not true anymore. Anyway, Avengers director Joss Whedon was brought in to complete this movie, which included extensive reshoots that Snyder loyalists claim drastically alter Snyder's vision. The problem is, it's not just the reshoots that changed the vision, it's actually what they put in its place. Basically, it's just not the film that Zack would have gave us. It's as simple as that. It's an extremely different film. I think when we see the Snyder Cut, we'll see similar elements sometimes, but this is a far different film when you know the characters and scenes that they cut. Beautiful scenes that anyone who knows anything about film wouldn't have cut. I just want to say about Joss Whedon, this is a man who made a deal with the devil and lost. Basically, Sujihara was the one who shit a brick and decided to listen to the bloggers and the pundits. And instead of going to Joss Whedon, look, mate, we're going to stop now. We're going to say that's the end of Snyder's DCEU. We can reboot it. We can reboot the franchise, right? Or you can continue what happened from Batman v Superman onwards, right, in your way. But no, they didn't allow him to make his own Justice League film. They said, you want Batgirl, you're going to have to cut elements of his film, reshoot some scenes and put them in its place. Ridiculous, a stupid idea. From that, the Release the Snyder Cut movement was born, which calls for Warner Brothers to release Snyder's version of the film. And while it's uncertain if Snyder's elusive director's cut of Justice League will ever see the light of day, the movement to get it released is bigger than ever. 2019 has seen Jason Momoa, who played Aquaman in Justice League in the character solo movie, chime in. With confirmation that the Snyder Cut exists, fans also raised a large amount of money to spread awareness of the Snyder Cut at the San Diego and New York Comic Con this year. The movement has been increasingly spotlighted by media outlets this year as well, including an extensive feature from The Ringer. And Snyder himself has fired up his devotees on the social platform Vero by posting behind-the-scenes images and concept art. We're going to talk about more of them after this. Joker gives the movement a jolt and momentum, by the way. Right. Some Snyder Cut followers hope the success of Joker helps push Warner Brothers to release the Snyder Cut. At the very least, they believe it vindicates their feelings that DC's movies should be of the antithesis to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Snyder's DC movies were chastised by critics for their moody tone and brooding depictions of characters, which is exactly why their biggest fans love them so. Here's the thing, right? The DCEU, while Snyder was there, they were great, beautiful movies in tone and visually. They were great movies. Now, they might not be kind of the movies that... Part of the problem is the MCU. I mean, it's funny because Dave Pina, is it the Screen Junkie or whatever he calls himself? Great guy, I like him, by the way. He started saying, why is it every time we talk about DC movie, we have to bring the opposition? Well, the opposition bring themselves in because they have a superiority complex, right? And this is why I always mention them. So what I said was, and what he criticised was, isn't it ironic? A year that started that the MCU was the franchise everyone was going to be talking about. That Avengers Endgame was going to be the biggest movie this year. Now, it might be financially, but in terms of artistically and what everyone ended up talking about, much more than Endgame, is the Joker movie, a DC movie. A director helmed this film with freedom to do what he wanted. That's the point. And that's why we mention the situation. The problem is Marvel do have to be mentioned because too many people in the mainstream, mostly the media, and they're spreading this poison to the mainstream audience, is everything should be like what's successful. So because the MCU is so financially successful, creatively, I don't think it is. But successfully, right, it's the biggest thing in movies, right? And I concede that. So because they were so successful, everyone was saying, you've got to be like Marvel. You've got to be like Marvel. No, why? Why do you have to pat on what they do? And the truth is, even if we did pat on what they did, there's no guarantee we'll be just as successful. And the truth is, we don't want that. I think even your hardcore DC fans realise, yes, we would want more of a brighter kind of franchise, but still, there has to be room for darkness. There needs to be a variety of tone, because that's what DC Comics is. But these bloggers wanted the DCEU to be like Marvel, and Kevin Sugihara caved and did that. And I wouldn't have minded so much if he caved and he told Whedon to do his own thing. But he literally cut to pieces a man's piece of art. And he tried to tread on his head to try and, make... This was never going to be successful doing that. But the truth is, there's no evidence of patenting Marvel that you're actually going to be successful. Let's just say we had a bunch of movies, bright movies with no tears, no drama, all smiles. They fight a few people, and before they throw the next punch, they go, hey, hit a jack, or something like that, right? There's no guarantee it would work. Everyone must do things. The point is, the reason these are controversial movies is because the bloggers made them controversial. There was actually no need to make these controversial. Now, Man of Steel basically, Zack did everything he wanted with Man of Steel. Batman v Superman became the problem because of the reaction to Man of Steel. And this is why the theatrical cut wasn't totally Zack's movie, and this is why we got the Ultimate Edition in the end. Joker shares something with Zack Snyder's DCEU movies. Cole and Nana, who go by the Nerd Queen on social media and wish to keep their last names anonymous, told Business Insider both have been criticised for their portrayal of violence, when in both cases the main point of the violence is to make the viewer uncomfortable, to see it and realise it's not okay. I think that's the point, isn't it? I mean, they tried to say that Man of Steel had 9/11 type violence. I think a few buildings stunningly did fall as Perry White's about to run away, which looks absolutely beautiful. But I can assure you no one was hurt in real life. This is what we must understand. Films are not real. They're there for our enjoyment, but sometimes for our education too. But unfortunately, this is the thing. It wasn't the fact that Zack Snyder is a bad filmmaker, he did the wrong thing. The problem is this kind of Hitler kind of attitude of everyone's got to have blue eyes and blonde hair. This is what happened with Snyder's vision. They didn't like it because he wasn't patterning what they wanted the films to be. It's not because his movies are bad movies. It's because they are not what they think they should be. The R-rated Joker, an intensely violent take on Batman's famous foe, has made over $500 million worldwide in a little over a week, off of a $55 million production budget. It's amazing, isn't it? Wouldn't it be terrific if Warner Brothers would finally commit to these director-driven powerhouse movies, which they are now, like Joker, and release the true Snyder Cut of Justice League? One person tweeted, "People want the Snyder Cut." Another person said on Twitter, "Joker, box office speaks volumes." Since Justice League flopped, Warner Brothers has refocused its DC superhero movie strategy on more light-hearted fare like Aquaman. Was Aquaman all light-hearted? I mean, it was a lighter film, but I think it also had some darker moments. Again, it's a variety of tone. So I wouldn't say that Aquaman is an MCU movie, to be honest, which grossed over $1 billion globally, and critically acclaimed Shazam, the next DC movie, Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Looks like it will continue that trend. I don't think that's an R-rated film. That's not going to be lighter. But the success of Joker gives Snyder Cut fans the hope that both light-hearted and darker threads can coexist in the DC movie universe. That's the point. And that is what's going to happen. The success of Joker can only show Warner Brothers that the audience has a desire, a wish, and an appetite for the darker, more realistic take on comic book characters. Rowlands, who helped organise the movement's presence at New York Comic Con this month, told Business Insider the Snyder Cut movement raised over $6,300 ahead of New York Comic Con through a GoFundMe page, which took place earlier this month. Half of that was donated to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, a cause important to Snyder fans after the filmmaker's daughter died by suicide in March 2017. It isn't just about a movie for us, Nana and Cole said. That's why we carry on. The pair who were on the ground at the New York Comic Con told Business Insider that over $110,000 had been raised for the foundation through various campaigns. Since the movement launched, it raised over $26,000 for San Diego Comic Con this summer, half of which was also donated. Up next, some fans will be taking part in and raising money for AFSP's Out of the Darkness Suicide Prevention Walk in Pasadena, California in November. As for the rest of the Comic Con funding, was it $171,000 of it is paid for a 15-second digital billboard in Times Square, highlighting the Release the Snyder Cut movement, which played every 2 minutes for 12 hours on October the 5th, the Saturday New York Comic Con. Snyder thanked fans on his Vero account, as seen below. "This is truly amazing," Snyder said, "and I am speechless and humbled by the support and love." Funds from the GoFundMe were also used to make pamphlets, buttons and shirts for Comic-Con. Volunteers walked through the event, handing out the material and getting notable comic creators, including Deadpool co-creator Rob Liefeld, to pose with the shirts. Liefeld has supported the cause on multiple occasions on Twitter. Moving forward, the Snyder Cut efforts is often the subject of online criticism. Some of it has been aimed at the movement's more passionate, even toxic followers. And unfortunately, we do have passionate, toxic followers. I told you with my experiences the other week. But some is unnecessary and mean-spirited. Snyder Cut proponents said, "I do interact online with a lot of people who either don't get it or simply didn't want the DCEU to even exist to start with, and as such troll." Rowlands said, "The sad reality is that those who deliberately try to troll Snyder Cut supporters don't need to. Art is subjective and we all deserve our own opinion, so I often wonder why some enjoy trying to put others down for wanting something." The thing is with trolls, they don't care what they're going at you against. It's just the point of upsetting you and getting your reaction. So it's not a case of them hating the DCEU or hating what Snyder did. They're just trying to upset people. And once you take the bait, they'll turn it on you and call you toxic. That's the game we have to learn not to play. With people like Momoa and Snyder in its corner, the movement has tried to move on from the trolling. Momoa said the Snyder Cut is sick in a video on his Instagram in August, where he praised Snyder and said, "I wouldn't be here today in my career if it wasn't for him." When we first came to all of this, people were definitely much more resentful and negative towards us, Cohen Nana said. But as the movement grew and even some popular voices joined our ranks, it felt like tides are definitely changing. Hopefully the trend will continue, and one day we will get rid of the negative label that we were given in the past. Listen, right, let me just say something. I'll keep my place here. But let me just say about this, right? Life's about a balance. You can't have people blowing smoke up your arse 24/7. There's always going to be negativity, whatever you do. I get negative comments on here. I don't care. I get people trolling me. I was mentioning obviously my mum dying earlier this week, and someone's saying really despicable, and it didn't upset me on it because I know what they're trying to do. They don't mean what they say. They just want a reaction, and it's best just to rise above these things. But you'll never stop people being nasty, either in the cyber world or in the real world. And if you can't handle that, you're going to have a lot of problems in your life. The movement went full speed ahead this year in trying to alert Warner Brothers of its ultimate goal. Fans attempted to make an ally out of Warner Brothers' new CEO, Ann Sarnoff, when the studio announced her hiring in June. Shall I tell you a little secret? It worked. People immediately bombarded the studio's announcement on Twitter with the hashtag and rallying cry, "Release the Snyder Cut." Beyond Twitter, fans promised to launch a letter writing campaign aimed at Sarnoff, and we did. So will the Snyder Cut ever be released? A senior Warner Bros. Executive told the Wall Street Journal last year that the studio had no... Right, look, we know what happened there. Everything's changed now. That's when Sujihara was still there. That's finished. So it's not even worth listening to this, but I'll read it. Told last year that the studio had no plans to release any alternative version of Justice League. Meanwhile, Snyder regularly reveals new details about his scrap plan for Justice League on Vero, provoking fans to push for his cut even more. That's why he's doing it, obviously. Whichever way it is released, it will hopefully give the fans the opportunity to view and appreciate all the hard work that Zack and his crew worked towards. Roland said, when you create any art, you just want to have something out there you can be proud of. If you have a tip about the Snyder Cut or anything else, email blah, blah, blah. Well, basically, this is really a beautiful article. I think I've read all. But hang on. Bit paranoid there. Let's make sure that I've read all of it. Yeah. I've read all of it. So who wrote this article? Let's have a look. Travis Clark. Well done, Travis Clark. You've done a great job with that article. I'll give you a shout out. And if Travis Clark is on Twitter or anywhere else, go and look for him and go and follow him. So really, this gives you the whole... Every time you read one of these pieces, it gives you before the rallying cry for the Snyder Cut, what happened. But basically, it's a very positive article, and it's exactly what we need. I think we're that far away from victory. Now, the Cinema Blend guy, who writes for Cinema Blend, or might even own it, I don't know, but he's been very supportive of the Snyder Cut. And he, along with Paul Cherie, right, has actually went to interview him to see the set of The Army of the Dead, went to talk to Zack Snyder, and he has given them some Snyder Cut information. Now, they've both said that they can't talk about anything they discussed on the set. It's under embargo, so they can talk about the Snyder Cut as a thing, but they can't talk about the information Zack gave them about the Snyder Cut. So, look, really exciting time. Now, I will warn you, because I hate giving people false hope because it's not right. I think we're going to see it. I think we're almost there, but these guys haven't been told the cut's going to be released. No. This is what I've heard they've been told. I believe that Zack Snyder and certain executives over at Warner Brothers are under negotiations to talk about what they can do going forward, whether they can release this cut, what Zack wants to put in this cut. Obviously, Zack will have to compromise in elements of the film, but I don't think it will be the film that he wanted to release. Now, obviously, the other thing will be how long will it be. So these negotiations, I think, are happening right now, and this is what I'm hearing, and this is why I'm really confident. But Zack did drop something quite beautiful yesterday, and it involved Wonder Woman. Right, I'm back. Right, now Zack's been dropping a few of these with Diana, a.k.a. Wonder Woman, in some cave looking at some, I think we call them murals, shall we? So there's one the other day which says, "A bell can't be unrung." This may have been posted a while back. So then he was wishing Gal Gadot a happy birthday. Happy birthday to my amazing friend. And she's standing there with a flame looking in this, I think it's a cave, I don't know what you would call it. Now, apparently this would be in the Snyder Cut, in his original vision for Justice League, right? And then finally yesterday, he posted this. Now, what you can see here, if you look up on the roof, I'm sorry I can't post it anywhere or put it so you can see it while I talk about it. I'm amateur. I'm sorry. But anyway, there's kind of the ceiling looks quite interesting, but I'm not sure what's on it. Some kind of star. But she's holding a flame, and Zack puts on this post at the end of the story, Darkseid. Now we know that Darkseid appears at the end of the Snyder Cut. Now she's holding her flame again, so this is very, very exciting. Does that mean keep the flame burning? Could mean that, or he's just showing us more of what he means to put in. The potential here is, if we see the Snyder Cut, that his vision could be continued if the money rolls in. Let me explain to you what's happening at the moment over on DC Film. Lots of doors are opening. When this all started, when Zack first came in with Christopher Nolan and David Goyer and Chris Terrio, there was one door, the DCEU. Now there's the DCEU. Now there's the Batman universe. Now there's the Black Label. So there's loads of different doors. This gives not only the potential of Snyder's vision of Justice League to be released and be part of one of those doors, but for him to continue his story. This is very exciting. Now, I do hear a lot of things. Some things I think are absolute BS, and some things I think, that's interesting, that's exciting. I can't always drop those, but what I will say is with all these different doors opening, and as I just read to you in that article, they're saying the Joker could help this happen. I think this is going to happen. I think one of those doors is going to be open for Zack Snyder, and that excites me a great deal. The Snyder Cut is happening, but don't give up after the Snyder Cut. Make sure you all watch the hell out of it on whatever platform or whatever cinema theatrical screen they put it on. Make sure Warner Brothers know that you want more. Remember that. The fight for the Snyder Cut is one thing, but there's a bigger fight to go on after that. There are many DC film doors being opened. We are hearing as well that HBO Max are about to announce multiple DC TV shows. Very, very exciting. Could we have an HBO-style Superman TV show? I don't know. So what do you think about the article I read to you? Do you sniff that the Snyder Cut is coming soon? Because I do. I think this is my favourite word, very interesting and very exciting. It's been a long road. It's been a long journey. It's been a long battle. But friends, I think we're nearly there.